Shavua Tov, a good tevoch. I will continue telling stories from the Shivchei haBaal Shem Tov, the stories of the praises of the Baal Shem Tov, a book compiled by a son-in-law of Rav Avram Shuchat, who was a sofer by the Baal Shem Tov. And this is the closest, historically, chronologically, that we can get to actually to the Baal Shem Tov. And the sources are people who had met and lived with the Baal Shem Tov closely for quite a while. So it's the most reliable first source of stories of the Baal Shem Tov. And I will tell tonight story number 45, and Hagos Rabbi Yaakov Yosef. This is part of stories that are kind of a parenthesis in the story, as we have seen the relationship between Rabbi Yaakov Yosef and the Baal Shem Tov, and now we're going to focus for a brief moment exclusively on Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polnoi, this great Talmid Chacham, this man that the Baal Shem Tov called a miracle worker, a wonder maker, a wonders and wonder maker, and he will just tell us about his customs, behaviors, his pious behavior, and Hagos Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, the behaviors, the pious behaviors of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef. So the author says, I will tell a little bit of the way he conducted himself. He used to learn with his talis and tefillin for hours in the day. He put talis and tefillin not only for his talit and tefillin, not only for the morning prayer, but stay on. And before he would eat anything, he would learn 7 pages, 7 daf of the Gemara, of the Talmud. When he would eat, without the tefillin on, of course, between one dish and another, between one machal, one food and another, lo pasek pume megirsa. This is a Talmudic expression. His mouth will not stop from the learning. He would be reviewing, saying over words of Torah. After he ate, he took a brief nap, really brief, and he would get up and again put on tefillin and continue learning until the time of mincha, of the afternoon prayer. Also at night he learned quite a bit. There wasn't a single night, whether it was summer or winter, whether it was a weekday or Shabbos or a holiday, that he would not get up at midnight to recite the Tikkun Chatzois, the prayers that we do at special prayers at midnight for the rebuilding of the temple. He was very, very strict on this. In his time, there was a case of Jews who were kidnapped for ransom. Specifically, Jews were target for this. And the Jews in the region, in Podolia, were quite poor and couldn't afford the requested ransoms. So he would come forward and pay and release them. And he also was very generous with tzedakah. And in his house, he actually suffered quite a bit money-wise. So even though he was not a wealthy man, he had, we already told the story about he gave away his whole fortune and paying back for things that were doubtfully he should have collected them in the first place. So he did that tshuva. He continued giving tzedakah in a very generous and general way, and in a great way. And his parnasa was rather under pressure, was difficult. He went through many difficulties money-wise. So once his son, who would be known as Reb Shimshon of Rashkov, complained about the difficulties of their life, the privation, the poverty in which they lived. And he said to his son, it's written in the book Midrash Shmuel, Va'i aniim bnei bisecha, the poor should be the children of your house. This is actually a quote from Pirkei Avos, from the Mishnah, Pirkei Avot, And it would seem in Pirkei Avot that the intention is to invite poor people to your house and make them feel like they were children in the house, that they're own children. They can sit down and they can eat and they can feel comfortable. But in this book, the Midrash Shmuel actually says that in your own house you will become the child of poverty out of the charity that you will be given. In his learning and in his prayer, his mouth, his speech would always reflect Kedusha, holiness. And he would do it with so much power, with so much strength, that even his flesh would be vibrating from this holiness. And that is a description, the two short paragraph description about this Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, who was this big Talmid Chacham who became one of the early great Hasidim, and he is buried in a town called Polonoi today, or Polonoi in Yiddish, along with two other big tzaddikim that are mentioned in the stories here of the Baal Shem Tov. And that's the parenthesis about this man. Next week, which will be Chol HaMoed Sukkos, the story will be about Rabbi Gershom of Kitov, the brother-in-law of the Baal Shem Tov. Shavua Tov and Good Tevach.